And now, broadcasting from deep behind enemy lines in the occupied territory of the Socialist Republic of California, your host, former California State Assemblyman and Governor candidate, Tim Donnelly.
Welcome to another edition of the Radio Free California Network. I am your host, former State Assemblyman Tim Donnelly, and you know, we seem to be fixated on California for good reason. They are continuing to dominate the headlines with only what can only be described as organized stupidity. I don't know what else to call it. I think we're going to have to come up with a new segment for the show called Stupid Things Politicians Say. But I'm afraid that it may overwhelm the show and take over the show, and there won't be time to say anything else, because when the insane asylum known as the California legislature is in session, they do the most bizarre things. It's like they've declared war on the little guy. They've declared war on small business owners with this minimum wage obsession, not only in the city of Los Angeles, but also their dream is $15 an hour, but also in the statewide. They want to move it to $11 and then to $13 an hour by 2017. So what do you think business owners are going to do? I mean, the only logical thing that you do when you own a business, when you have a cost, it's the same thing you do at home. My wife does it all the time. If the insurance is too high, in her estimation, she shops. If the cable bill is too high, what do? You look around for another provider. Well, in a business, you have a choice. You get up in the morning, you can go into work, and you can run your whole business yourself. Not every business can do that, but you can work, and you can take home the fruits of your labor, or you can share your capital with what are called employees. Those are people who have no investment in the business, who walk in the door and, hey, by the way, there's some great employees out there, but the bottom line is that they don't shoulder the risk that the owner does. They go home at night. Whatever they got paid, they got paid. If you're the owner, you dream of making it through Friday night at 6 o'clock so you can breathe a sigh of relief that the government didn't steal more from you, that you didn't get sued by some boneheaded jackpot justice lawyer who's just looking to make a buck, and it has nothing to do with right and wrong. We had my friend Julie Griffiths on talking about lawsuit abuse. And of course, that's what happens. Anytime you go to hire a person, if you don't hire them, you can be sued. If you hire them, you can be sued. If you don't hire them, you can be accused of discrimination by the massive quantity of laws called non-discrimination laws that have been promulgated through every state in the union, but no place more than California, where we have what's called the private right of action. And what that is that's blood in the water for the sharks. The private right of action gives private attorneys the right to sue for damages instead of the government actually enforcing their laws. I'm shocked that they ever allowed that to happen, because I'm sure they would love to have an army of lawyers, thousands and thousands and thousands of them, working for the government, just like they have an army of regulators and an army of bureaucrats and an army of union thugs who work in all these different public sector unions, all for the government. And what happens? Well, they organize against you. Yeah, you, right there, driving down the road. You, sitting there in the cubicle, working. You, out there building something, or on the road making a sales call. Every time they increase the unionization, every time they increase the fiefdom of a particular set interest group, and they're only interested in the interest groups that will then legally bribe them back. That's where the rub is. You just got to connect the dots. And that's the bottom line. Right now, they're going after grocery stores. You know, it sounds kind of weird. AB 359. Why would they go after, if you sell, if somebody's in trouble, they own a grocery store, the grocery store's failing, and they sell it to a bigger chain. This happens all the time in every industry. So the company that comes in is probably not going to run the grocery store the way the failed operator ran it. They're probably not going to hire the employees who were part of the failing operation. It just makes sense. You want to start new. You got enough risks. First of all, you're probably going to tear it down or remodel it. So you got a massive amount of cost there. You're going to have to figure out a way to correctly identify your market and make sure that you appeal to the market and that you can make a profit. That's the number one consideration. And then you have to look out for all the local pitfalls, all the legal bribery that goes on to get your plans approved and make sure that you're able to open the business on time according to your plan, and make sure that you've been able to hire people and that you get your goods in, and that you deal with all these unions that all have their little fiefdoms. And before you know it, you're exhausted and you're out of money simply from doing that. But no, they want to put another burden on you. They want to force you to hire the workforce of the failed operation. You have to pay them for 90 days. You have to retain them for 90 days. And as I looked at that, I thought, it's kind of interesting because, first of all, they laid out 15,000 square feet, which is a pretty decent-sized grocery store. Well, who would be coming in to replace that? You're going to be dealing with a very large chain, right? Or you're dealing with Walmart. And if you're dealing with Walmart, which you can love or hate Walmart, but they bring low-price groceries and no hassle. And they know how to run a retail business, if anybody does. So this is a war against Walmart, but the flip side, the underside, the silver lining for the Democrats is what they're really trying to do is force you to keep people on your payroll. Now think about that. Let's say that you take over and start building 5 or 10 Walmarts in California at the same time. And you're forced to keep these unhappy employees who used to work for somebody else who have a grudge against you. Well, what's going to happen? The unions are going to come in. They're going to try to unionize them all at once. If they can get a certain number, then they can unionize your company. If they could unionize Walmart, that is like the holy grail of the Marxist progressives in Sacramento. If they could unionize Walmart, they could destroy it. Because the entire goal for them is using the government to steal from people who have in order to give to people who don't. And the trade-off is that then the people that they're giving free stuff to, that they just looted from Walmart through the legal system, through the legislature, well, what do they trade? All they ask is a vote. All they ask is, you just vote for me, keep voting for me. I will keep stealing from the rich. I will keep stealing from those who have, and I will give to you. And as long as you become part of a union and can and keep funneling that cash back to us, it's kind of like this is the political ecosystem. This is how it works. If you ever wondered why California never seems to change color from blue to red or purple, it just stays this cold, frozen blue, it's because of this incredible power, and the Democrats are expert. Every bill that they're running right now is designed to be part of this ecosystem, to steal from you who work, to steal from you who have a small business, to steal from anyone and everyone that has any capital. Anybody who has worked hard and saved their money is considered to be rich. And you're fair game. And this government wants to rob you. This is probably the earliest I've gotten this ticked off in the show, huh? I got myself all worked up just reading this stuff. Hey, by the way, did we have a winner yesterday?
To be guessing our most egregious.
The most egregious, yes. How do you spell that again?
EGREGIOUS.
What are you, spelling bee champion or something?
I am.
Okay. All right. So the correctly spelled word, the most egregious headline out of Sacramento. Nobody won it. So that contest will continue. And the Tim Donnelly Show will continue after the break. 323-746-TALK if you want to get in on the conversation. Stay tuned.
Dancing down the street with your sway blue eyes. Every new boy that you meet, he doesn't know the real surprise. Here she comes again when she's dancing beneath the starry sky. She'll make you fly. Here she comes again when she's dancing beneath the starry sky.
So, Covered California is in the headlines, and you know, it's kind of funny just to watch this stuff come full circle. First of all, giving the government control over our health care is tantamount to giving government control over almost every aspect of our lives, if you really think about it. And they are hell-bent on utilizing that control and abusing. Well, I can't even call it abusing because it's stupid of us to give them a monopoly. Remember when the government fought monopolies back in the early part of the 19th, or was it the 20th century? The 1900s. Well, now we're giving them a monopoly over healthcare. And Yelp has been recording ratings on Covered California as an entity. You know, Yelp, you know Yelp, right? If you go to a restaurant and you don't like the service, you can say so. If you go to a hotel, whatever, you can Yelp them. And people read that because they want to see uncensored what people really think. And there were 208 reviews for Covered California, 191 of which give it a 1 out of a possible 5 stars. I'm shocked they even gave it 1. Here's some of the reviews. Laura N. from San Diego writes, "Nightmare," and she's got 4 or 5 exclamation points after it. "I've been dealing with trying to straighten out this situation for months. I call once a week, go through long wait times, then to be put on hold. I've been canceled." Remember when they canceled all those policies? I mean, why in the name of increasing coverage to those who don't work? That's all it was. To the illegal aliens that the Democrats love and depend on for future votes. They canceled insurance on hardworking Americans. How screwed up is that? I have been canceled, but still have to pay for payments on my insurance that I don't even have. And even after I update, each time I talk to someone after waiting forever on hold, they tell me it's all taken care of. And then it's never done. And they have no records of my last calls, only that I called for general information. I'm so frustrated. Now I owe thousands of dollars and I've never seen a single doctor. Okay, let me repeat that. For those of you who are considering voting for Jeb Bush or Hillary Clinton, I'm going to repeat this because you obviously need help. Now I owe thousands of dollars and I haven't seen a single doctor. That is Obamacare. If you have a job. Chris from Encinitas calls Covered California a chaotic, wasteful mess. I have never in my life so far experienced this degree of disorganization, ineptitude, and inefficiency. The fact we cannot discuss this issue with anyone that can actually fix it is infuriating. All we can do is send letters. It is so ridiculous how much time, energy, and money has been wasted in this system. I hope this new system is changed quickly or gotten rid of completely. Sadly, I supported healthcare reform, but reforming something into a chaotic, wasteful mess of a bureaucracy is not a solution. Now, this guy supported it. This Chris A. from Encinitas supported Obamacare. Now he doesn't, because the promise, the hope and change was nothing more than a bait and switch. It was a lie, but that's what the Democrats do. They're expert at it. Brandon B. from Huntington Beach lost his insurance and says Covered California is worse than the DMV. Now, that's a pretty strong claim, don't you think?
I was just going to say, I think Covered California is secretly the DMV. They're claiming that it's a different department, but I don't believe it.
Well, but if you go to the DMV, you can be abused in person. I mean,
true. My
wife took our son there to get his take his driver's test. And they have a person who works, they are a member of the SEIU union. That's the Service International Employees Union, whose entire job seems to be to go around and harass anybody who's sitting in the wrong seat. If you've ever been to the DMV, come on, you know this happens. They come over to you and they say, you're sitting in the wrong area. Wait, you know what? This is America. Go screw yourself. I can sit wherever the hell I damn well please. I mean, what? If I don't move, what are you going to do? Call the cops and throw me out? I'm probably the only person in here who has a job that's paying your salary. I mean, it's ludicrous. But here's Brandon B., who makes this outrageous claim that Covered California could be worse than the DMV. We have spent at least 16 hours on the phone, on hold with representatives and supervisors, promising they would fix the issue and the billing, but they don't. And they never call back when they say they will. This is 100 times worse than the DMV. I feel like I'm going insane. We have a baby in the NICU. That's the neonatal intensive care unit for those of you thinking about voting for Hillary Clinton. And this has caused my wife untold stress and time. And we aren't even to the finish line yet. We may now not even have coverage. Mish B. from San Diego, unable to cancel her insurance, said, I received another bill in November and again in December after endless hours of hold time. I was told that they had no record of my request to cancel coverage. What a surprise. Shame on you, Covered California. Cal Berkeley grad, not S, had a message for President Obama. Good idea that has gone horribly, horribly, horribly wrong. All caps. I can't make my voice loud enough for you to understand the agitation of this Obama supporter. Obama, you are alienating those who supported me. Come on. I/we deserve better than this. Surprised there wasn't a he/she, just in case you aren't sure who you are today. 323-746-TALK if you have an experience to share. We'll be right back with your calls after the break.
Don't you think it's about time you treat yourself or someone you love to something very special? Well, Ozell Jewelers, the finest jewelry store in the high desert, is known throughout the high desert for having the largest variety of fine-looking jewelry and gifts for every special occasion. Ozell custom designs and manufactures their own jewelry, so you'll be able to find exclusive, one-of-a-kind, stunning styles you won't find anywhere else in Southern California. If you're looking for fine jewelry at unbeatable prices, Ozell Jewelers is the place to go. Show appreciation to that special person in your life with something special to cherish forever. Ozell Jewelers, voted best jewelers in the high desert by the Daily Press regularly for years. Ozell Jewelers has been putting smiles on high desert faces for over 30 years. Ozell Jewelers in Rancho Cucamonga, Palm Desert, and Amargosa Road by Red Lobster in Victorville. Ozell Jewelers.
Three 323-746-8255 is our number, 323-746-TALK, because we'd love to talk to you. TimDonnellyShow.com is our website. And by the way, if you've been using that new stream, which takes you to the TuneIn app, love to hear from you. Either call in or send us an email. I'd love to hear how that's working out for you. I have been checking it, and it's awesome because you can hear the show anytime you want. It replays pretty much 7 times after the show ends. So you have, if you're a night owl and you're working in the middle of the night, and you want to listen to something relevant and timely. And of course, if you listened to the stream yesterday, you might be wondering why we were never able to give away a simple gift certificate, because nobody, it seems, has been able to accurately guess the most egregious headline coming out of Sacramento in the past 30 days that we talked about on this show. So we're opening up again. If you're feeling smart, if you're feeling lucky, if you're feeling adventurous, if you're just feeling hungry and you want to venture a guess, it's 323-746-TALK. We will take your calls directly on the air, and you just got to pony up. You got to have the answer, because we're not going to settle for anything less than the exact answer. Meanwhile, in California, we have Barbara from Apple Valley. Barbara,
yeah,
do you have the right answer?
I do have the right answer. I'm ready for those hamburgers or whatever. It's Jade Helm.
All right, so what's the worst headline coming out of Sacramento?
Right, is it the Jade Helms 15?
Well, that's a good guess. That's not actually coming out of Sacramento, though. That's more of a national story, and it's largely focused right now in Texas.
Well, they're doing stuff right here in California, so I'd be looking into that over in Corona. Check it out.
Yeah, I've seen the video, and look, if you're concerned about the U.S. military operating, let me be clear. I'm not concerned about our troops. I'm concerned about the people who are leading them. I'm concerned about the political leaders. I'm concerned about Obama and what he really has in mind, and what it's almost impossible. Did you hear the interview that he did earlier? I think it was earlier today. Yeah, where he was asked under what circumstances would he use troops on the ground to combat ISIS.
I didn't get a chance to that, but I'll tell you, when you come 1-to-1 with that gun in your face, you'll be worried too. So whoever that is. But I understand what you're saying. No, I didn't see it today.
Well, it was as if he couldn't just say, hey, if our enemy becomes enough of a threat that we need to defend some of our allies, we will put troops on the ground. See, most presidents would be somewhat ambiguous, because you don't, as a president, you don't want to play your hand in public all the time. Sometimes you want to leave a little bit of wiggle room, and you want to make sure that you're working with your allies. But for him, he said, well, pretty much the only circumstances under which I would do that is if they were looking to smuggle a nuke across the ocean and through Mexico and into the United States, which of course.
Well, I hold the bronze medal for the United States. I'm very proud of that, and but I'm telling you, this is definitely a threat against the people, and I think we're going to hear more and more and more about these guns being in people's face and parachuting in. You just wait.
Well, thank you for your service, Barbara, and thank you for your call. We have been on this story, and we will continue as any news breaks, because I am deeply concerned.
All right. Thank you, Tim.
Oh,
Keep
you
up
got
the
it.
Good work. Bye-bye.
You got it. This Jade Helm has raised far more questions than it's answered, and I just don't trust. I do not trust the political leadership who have done questionable things, who have eviscerated our military, who have sent them on humanitarian missions that make no sense and gotten soldiers killed. The military should only be sent in a time of war when it is declared by the Congress, period. And when we do that, we should fight the war to win it. And our goal should be to decimate the enemy, and it should be to protect the lives of our troops and get them home and out of conflict. And it's that simple. And so what in the hell they're doing marching down the streets in the United States? And I think I told you, I had a friend on Facebook who said, hey, if you're one of these tinfoil hat wearers who's concerned about Jade Helm, then unfriend me. That was the easiest unfriend I ever did, because if you're one of the idiots considering voting for Jeb Bush or Hillary Clinton, then first of all, you need help. You might want to check yourself into a mental institution. But secondly, you are not paying attention to world history. And at the very least, I believe it is the political leadership who would like Americans to become used to seeing troops on the streets. We don't see troops on the street. And they want Americans to see soldiers walking down, marching down our streets, and become accustomed so that it's no longer a concern until it becomes part of daily life. The only problem is that the doctrine of posse comitatus says that U.S. troops are not authorized to act on U.S. soil. So I don't want them to train in cities here. I think it is a mistake, and I think it is I think it is something to be deeply concerned about. But that is not what I was talking about. I was taking you through California's Covered California. I'm fascinated by this, because this right here is absolutely relevant and germane to the 2016 presidential election. You've got Obama supporters who are pissed off at Obama for Obamacare. You have Republicans who swept into office who said we will repeal it, we will decimate it, we will end it. And of course, the Democrats, who are much better on the battlefield than the Republicans, they have no problem engaging in battles. They have no problem terrifying the Republicans into thinking that they will be called cold and heartless and that they will be accused of throwing women and children out into the streets with no health care, that they will be accused of depriving and stripping away a fundamental right. I hate to tell you this, health care ain't a right. Health care is a service that you pay for, and it is a service that when you can't pay for yourself, we offer some sort of assistance. But under Obamacare, the government has taken over the market. The government has taken to eliminating choice for those who had health care, those who were paying for their health care, along with in most cases with their employer. It has limited their choices. It has doubled their premiums in many cases. Also, that this so-called right could be extended to millions upon millions upon millions who have never worked or done anything productive in their lives. And, of course, who do you think all those people are going to show up and vote for? They're going to vote for Democrats because the Democrats gave them something. Obamacare to them is nothing more than an Obama phone. It's just another freebie. And they believe they're entitled to it. And once they get it, they will never relinquish it without a fight. And the Republicans are terrified of fighting. And if the Republicans do not repeal Obamacare, you mark my words, the same people who swept them into office will sweep them out. And they'll put somebody else in. I'm not saying that they'll put a Democrat in, but they'll put somebody in who will stand with the people and for the people instead of with the political establishment, thinking somehow that once you get up there and you wax eloquent, that all of a sudden you become a genius, because that's what they are convinced by the special interest who seduce them. I mean, you got to wonder why is it that when they get up there, they just completely stop listening to us? There's a video online about a state senator here in California, Andy Vidak. The guy went into office, said he was going to stand with the people. It was the Tea Party that swept him in. And the other day, he was one of the votes to give $1 billion to illegals, to extend Obamacare and free health care to illegals. $1 billion of your dollars. And this is a guy that was put in office by the Tea Party. And there are a lot of people fighting back. We're going to be talking to one of them in the 4 o'clock hour. But I want to go back to the story that I started with on the union. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break. And when we get back, I want to continue with an interesting story about the United Farm Workers. Remember we had Sylvia Lopez on? You will not believe what's in this article. 323-746-TALK if you want to be part of the show. Otherwise, just stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This is international film and television star Nick Searcy, and I don't often drink talk radio, but when I do, I drink the Tim Donnelly Show. Stay thirsty, my friends.
Hey, you've heard me talk over and over again about Burro Canyon Shooting Park, which is arguably the greatest place on the face of the earth to exercise your Second Amendment. But it just got better, because if you mention the Tim Donnelly Show, they'll give you free stuff. You get a free hat, free coffee cup, while supplies last if you mention Tim Donnelly Show. So get out there and get shooting. For directions or more information, call Burro Canyon at 626-910-1344. 323-746-TALK is our number, and I guess a couple people have decided that they want to take a stab at the most egregious story out of California. Becca, welcome to the Tim Donnelly Show.
Hi, Tim.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm going to take a stab, and since everybody else is talking about it, that it's Bruce Jenner.
Nope. Well, first of all, it doesn't come out of Sacramento. And second of all, that's not government. That's Bruce Jenner. I mean, that's his deal. I disagree that it's the most courageous thing that's been done in the United States and deserves an award. But if he wants to do that, I just find it kind of sad. I don't, but anyway, that is not the most egregious headline, but thank you for trying.
Thanks.
All right, stay tuned. We got, looks like Ron from Apple Valley. What is your guess?
I would guess that it's the carb regulations for all truck owners.
That's a great stab at it, but that is not the correct answer. Boy, and when you hear the correct answer, you're going to say, "Wow, that I get it. I know why that's the one," because I've got a stack 3 inches thick of horrible headlines out of California just from the past 30 days.
Well, also, you had mentioned something about Sacramento wanting to give money to Oregon, our taxpayer money.
Right. But, Ron, we only let you have one guess.
Oh, okay. Well,
you only get one guess. Thank you thanks for tuning in.
You got it. Thank you.
Godspeed. Hey, 323-746-TALK if you're feeling lucky. Meanwhile, back in... Oops. That was my bad. I just pushed the wrong button. Meanwhile, back in California, you remember we had Sylvia Lopez on. And Sylvia Lopez was she is a farm worker at Garawan Farms. It's a very hard name to say. And after 30 years, almost 40 years, the UFW came in and wanted to unionize them again. Now, it looks like we got a couple more callers. I guess I'm going to have to interrupt this story yet again. Welcome to the Tim Donnelly Show. Hello?
Next.
Welcome to the show. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I think something happened. I hung up on your screening room or something. You guys just stay on hold, and we'll get to you here in a minute. What's that? Welcome to the Tim Donnelly Show. No, I got nothing. Okay. That's because I hung up on your screening line. So the Agriculture Labor Relations Board that regulates agricultural relations, so that means anything to do with farm workers. It turns out, in addition to denying the farm workers a vote at this one farm who said, we do not want to be unionized. We do not want to be forced into a union against our wishes. Okay, what's your guess? Welcome to the Tim Donnelly Show. We have a ghost in the machine.
Okay, we're good to go.
All right. Okay, you're live on air. What is your guess?
Is that the illegal aliens are going to be receiving free care, health care, the 264,000 illegal aliens at the tune of $500 million paid by taxpayers in California.
Well, that's a good guess, but I don't want to scare you, but it's actually $1 billion we're going to spend
Okay.
just in California. But good guess. Where are you calling from?
From Pigeon Hills, California.
All right. Keep listening.
Thank you.
Okay, you are live on air. What is your guess?
Is it the takeover of all the private waterways?
Good try. It's you're obviously paying close attention to what's going on, but that is actually not out of Sacramento. That's a federal encroachment by the federal EPA. But thank you. What's your name, by the way?
I thought this is Steve out of Victorville. I thought that was Sacramento with Governor Brown's stuff.
No. Good try.
Okay.
Hey, we're gonna if you're on hold, stay on hold. We will pick you up after this break. 323-746-TALK. Tim Donnelly Show will continue. You are tuned to the Radio Free California Network. I am your host, Tim Donnelly, former California State Assemblyman and governor candidate, and frustrated talk show host. Don't give me that look in there. You know, this is insane. We can't get a simple answer to a simple question because maybe it's because there's too many headlines coming out of Sacramento that are egregious. But there's one that is the absolute most egregious of them all. And in a way, it encompasses them all. 323-746-8255 if you want to call in and venture a guess and win a $10 gift certificate to In-N-Out Burger. We've got another caller. You are on air. What is your guess?
The legislature's paying to haul drunk legislatures around.
That is a very good guess, but it is unfortunately incorrect.
I'll be darned. I thought that was it.
No,
Thank you.
It's once again an admirable attempt. Jim is obviously paying attention from Phelan, but not quite right. Back to the story that I was starting to share with you. We have a union, the UFW, that's the United Farm Workers Union. It was the one that Cesar Chavez was instrumental in starting, that is bullying its way into farms, trying to force them to be unionized. Now think about this. Force seems to be, and coercion seems to be, the watchword of the day, whether you're talking about unions, whether you're talking about the government, whether you're talking about government unions. But the dirty little secret is the Agriculture Labor Relations Board that's supposed to adjudicate disputes between employers and farm workers, so farmers and farm workers, actually is part of the coercion. And they were working together with the UFW, and there was an individual who was working with them named Horatio Ramirez Reyes. He was a former UFW organizer at Garawan. He finally quit, and he came forward and said that he no longer felt comfortable speaking to workers because he didn't believe it was fair lying to them. That was his job, was to lie and coerce and force and push workers to support the union. And he was unable to do it. And they needed a certain amount of evidence to get the government to come in and be the 800-pound gorilla that finishes the job of forcing all the workers into unionization. But most of the workers at Garawan Farm were happy. They were being treated well. They were in good working conditions. They didn't need the union. They didn't want the union. And you probably wonder why we talk about unions so much. And I want to be clear. I mean, I probably should do this every time I talk about union. If you are a member of a union, I don't have anything against you personally. But if your union leadership wants to use the government and wants to legally bribe individuals to steal from me or from another business owner or steal from the taxpayers, that's thuggery. And when unions do it, it's union thuggery. And I'm against that. I'm against it when corporations do it. That's corporate thuggery. I'm against it when individuals do it. We just call that thuggery. So, but this story is rife with example after example of how they were gaming and cheating and lying in order to get, here's the funny part, in order to get the Agriculture Labor Relations Board to declare that there were unfair labor practices. So they were breaking every rule and doing it in collusion with the government. And you have to say, well, why is this obsession? Why does the government want everyone in a union? Because it's job security for everyone. That's the dirty little secret. Unions are as powerful or more powerful. I would posit that the public sector unions in the state of California are more powerful than the biggest corporation. They're way more powerful than Walmart. They're way more powerful than the biggest company that you can name in the state of California. They carry more sway, they have more weight, and they affect your life more than you know it. And just to save you from making the mistake, the UFW story that I'm reading today is not the answer to our contest. So if you want to win the free lunch at In-N-Out Burger, you're going to have to come up with a different guess. But it will come to one of you eventually. I am not going to despair because we here at the Radio Free California Network have every confidence in our audience that you will figure out what is the worst, most egregious headline to come down in the past 30 days. It's something we discussed on this show. 323-746-TALK is our number. If you think you have the right answer, 323-746-8255. There was, we started out talking about a really bad bill that was debated the other day on the assembly floor. And we're going to jump right into the middle of the debate, and then we'll try to make some sense out of it. Well, we're going to do that in a minute. But it is AB 359, which is targeted at grocery store owners.
Large grocery mergers. It would require grocery stores that are larger than 15,000 square feet to retain eligible
grocery workers. Ms. Gonzalez, you may open.
Mr. Speaker, AB 359 seeks to protect up to 383,900 grocery workers in California from losing their jobs during large grocery mergers. It would require grocery stores that are larger than 15,000 square feet to retain eligible workers during a 90-day transition period when changing ownership. Eligible workers will be considered for continued employment after the 90-day transition employment period by the successor employer, but there would be no obligation to hire the retained worker. The cities of San Francisco, Los Angeles, Gardena, Alameda, and Santa Monica have adopted this grocery worker retention ordinance. In 2011, the California Supreme Court ruled in favor of the ordinance that was passed by the Los Angeles City Council in 2005, and this bill mirrors that ordinance. I'd like to address the opposition's arguments, quite frankly. Permission to use a prop?
Without objection.
So it's come to my attention that the opposition did circulate their own facts about my bill, and I just want.
So we're going to jump off here and take a call, but I just want you to know that is Lorena Gonzalez, not only Assemblywoman from San Diego, she is a union organizer. But we're going to take a quick call here from Gary in Palmdale. Gary, what's your guess?
And so this only applies to when a grocery store changes ownership as a
Drunk to legislate rides for getting legislatures home safe when they've had too much to drink.
You mean too drunk to legislate?
Yeah, that one.
The free cab service that's not available to anybody else because they're trying to eradicate Lyft
when you're
and.
back on with the host.
Hold on, can you turn that? Oh, you can't turn that down. Sorry,
Hello?
I got the Noskinator doing too many things. No, your guess is good, but it is not correct,
Hello?
unfortunately.
Can't hear you anymore.
Good guess. Close, but no cigar. I think we overwhelmed the system. It's funny that they want to eradicate Lyft. They want to eradicate Uber. But they want to create their own government program to give them a ride home when they're drunk. Okay, so we've got a truck driver calling in. Where are you calling from? Hello? Are you there? I think there may be a ghost in the machine. Are you there?
Hello?
Yeah. What's your guess? What is your guess? You're live on air. Okay. I will give you one more try. Hey, you are live on air. What is your guess?
My guess is the vaccination law.
That is
mandatory for the schools.
Yep, that's a very good guess. But it is unfortunately not correct. It is in the top 3, though. It is in the top 3. So it says you're a truck driver. Where are you calling from? Where are you listening?
Well, I'm in my truck, and I'm right now probably I'm in between Barstow and Victorville.
All
I'm
right.
up here every day.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, thank you for listening, and stay tuned for the answer.
Okay.
All right.
1 out of 3, I guess. That's not bad.
Not bad at all.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, great. Hey, we're going to take a quick break here, and we will have much more coming up on the Tim Donnelly Show, including more from union organizer, Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez. If you are on hold, stay on hold, and we will get to you after this break.
I got a little change in my pocket going jingle-lang-a-lang. Wants to call you on the telephone, baby. I give you a ring, but each time we talk, I get the same old thing. Always no huggy, no kissy until I get a wedding ring. My honey, my baby, don't put my love upon no shelf.
You are tuned to the Radio Free California Network, the Tim Donnelly Show. I am your host, and We stream live, by the way, at timdonnellyshow.com. If you miss any portion of the show, you can always check in. And by the way, it streams for 21 hours after we leave here and stops just as we come on board at 3 o'clock, and then it is live. I'm going to go back to your calls and see if we can get a winner. Welcome to the Tim Donnelly Show. What is your guess?
My guess is they passed a law to have free colleges for everybody.
Well, yeah, there was a bill years ago, actually, to give free college tuition to illegals.
Right.
I was in the legislature then, but that is not from the past 30 days. Good guess, though.
I'm going to keep trying.
All right.
If you keep, I'll be here.
Stay tuned.
Great.
What is your guess?
Hello?
You are live on air.
Yes.
Take a shot.
Daniel Miller. I think it's the CCW permit holders no longer allowed to carry on school grounds.
That's a negative. Very, very educated guess, though. I like that. That means you're definitely paying attention to your civil rights, which are being assaulted by SB 707. Where are you calling from, Daniel?
I'm calling from Hesperia.
Awesome. Well, thank you for listening, and stay tuned, because we will eventually get to the right answer, and everybody will believe, and I believe everyone will agree with me. And if they don't, you're welcome to call in. Thanks for your call.
Thank you.
So, and speaking of that, did you see that that story from the I read actor Vince Vaughn's comments on air, and he made some incredible points about what the Second Amendment is about and what it is not about, and it is worthy to repeat what he said. He said, "We have the right to bear arms to resist the supreme power of a corrupt and abusive government. It's not about duck hunting. It's about the ability of the individual. It's the same reason we have freedom of speech." That's worthy of repeating. It's the same reason we have freedom of speech. As a matter of fact, you could say that the Second Amendment is why we have freedom of speech. Are you giving me that look because you actually have that thing queued up? Do you have this? This segment will probably go better because it didn't come from the government. But I guess Geraldo Rivera took exception to Vince Vaughn's clear thinking.
I want to go to Geraldo first because this is the first time on the five.
It is. Hello.
Good to see you and your
too.
mustache.
The Second Amendment is the most lavishly defended of all the Constitution of the United States.
And it should be, right? Because
Just
it protects,
wait till the B
it
block.
protects the Olive. It protects the First Amendment.
Anyone who thinks they need guns, there's a gun for every man, woman, and child in the country to protect against the corrupt and arrogant and pervasive government. Is that what he said? Mm-hmm. Doesn't that remind you of Timothy McVeigh and the militias? I think it's totally parallel.
No, that reminds me of almost all of America. And by the way, why would you go straight to McVeigh? Why would you? That'd be like if you were.
We are bathing in blood in a civil war that is racking the inner city of this country.
That's illegal guns. That's not the Second Amendment. That's not law-abiding citizens, Geraldo. That's gangs. You know that's gangs. Don't play that game with me.
It's people with guns, please. Give me a break.
Oh, so
Baltimore, 43 dead in 30 days.
So yes.
Yeah.
And
why?
how did that happen?
Yeah,
because
exactly.
everyone has a gun. Everyone has a gun.
No. Those are illegal guns, Geraldo.
Because there's not stop and frisk.
I mean, you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. Almost every single thing he said was offensive. He started out by saying there's a gun for every man, woman, and child in America. Well, first of all, yeah, there are more guns than people, but that doesn't mean you own one. You might never have purchased one. And if you didn't, then it is not in your possession when you need it because you don't have it because you didn't go to Turner's and buy it. And you didn't go up to Burro Canyon Shooting Park and test it and become skilled and perhaps even go out to Front Sight and take a class in defensive handgun shooting or something along those lines. So first of all, he makes it sound like, and this is what the left does. I don't even know why Fox has this guy on. But the left likes to go out there and make guns the enemy. Well, those 43 deaths in Baltimore and Chicago, and it's way more than that now, by the way. The casualty count is going up every day. Those didn't just happen. The guns didn't bounce out of a car and shoot somebody accidentally. They didn't cruise by and take somebody down and shooting a child in the back of the head, or a young woman on her way to college, or a young man on his way to work. These were intentional murders committed by people who have murder in their hearts. Yes, they have a gun in their hand, but they have murder in their hearts. And that's the problem. And that's a spiritual problem. That is something only God can cure, not government. Government cannot take murder out of the heart of man. He cannot take evil out of the heart of man. If you decide in your heart that you hate someone enough to kill them, it's not the gun's fault. And half the time people don't use guns. They use knives. They run people over with cars. They beat them to death with a frying pan or a baseball bat or a billy club or whatever they can get their hands on, a ball-peen hammer. You don't hear them. You don't hear the gun control freaks talking about banning ball-peen hammers. You also don't hear the countless times that guns are used to stop crime, to protect life. Yeah, that's what we ought to do. That we ought to highlight. If you've got a story about using a gun to save life, to stop crime, to protect your own life, we'd love to hear it. 323-746-TALK, and we will continue to take your questions. And we are going to have, coming up after the break, there's a movement afoot, in large part because of one of the egregious headlines, one of the top three, SB 277, the forced vaccinations bill, has become a rallying cry for Republicans and Democrats alike in a number of districts across California. There's a movement to recall some people. We're going to have Lauren Stevens on, who is a conservative political consultant, to discuss. So you definitely do not want to miss that conversation. Don't touch that dial. If you've been listening long to the Tim Donnelly Show, you know that we talk constantly about defending freedom and about defending our natural inalienable rights. The Firearms Policy Coalition is a partner of the Tim Donnelly Show. But more than that, they're on the front lines every day in Sacramento and all across the state, in the courts, defending your Second Amendment right, that is a natural right that the government merely acknowledged in the Second Amendment. If you value your freedom, then you need to join Firearms Policy Coalition. Become a member. I'm a member, and I'm happy to support an organization that is doing such an incredible job. Go to joinfpc.org. The Tim Donnelly Show sent you. Or go to timdonnellyshow.com and click on the FPC link to make it easy. But whatever you do, join today. FPC.org. We are halfway through the show, and time flies. I just can't get to everything I want to get to when we are having so much fun. We have another guess at the most egregious headline coming out of Sacramento in the last 30 days that we discussed on this show. Donna from Victorville, welcome to the Tim Donnelly Show.
Thank you.
What's your guess?
Is it the super train being built by the Chinese at, I think it's $2 billion or $200 billion?
That's a great guess. But, and you know what? I've been making a list, and it's not on there yet, so I'm going to add it. But unfortunately, it is not the answer I'm looking for. So you're going to have to stay tuned because we will get it. And you'll be happy because it will include everything. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
So that is a good guess. The train to nowhere. Well, I want to get into our guest, and we'll take your calls after we talk with Lauren Stevens of Fresno, who is leading an effort, or I'll let her characterize her involvement, but is involved in an effort, let's say that, to do something. And we like that at the Tim Donnelly Show. We like that at the Radio Free California Network. We like it when people fight back and when they fight effectively. That is the key, is that it be an effective fight, because then ultimately will bear fruit. Lauren Stevens, welcome to the Tim Donnelly Show.
Hi, Tim. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on. So you are involved in an effort to recall some of the individuals who are responsible for probably the second or third most egregious headline coming out of Sacramento, which is this effort to force vaccinations on every child or they don't get to go to school.
Yeah, it's really baffling to me because here we are in a Democrat state. Democrats are supposed to be pro-choice. We know what's behind this movement on their end. It's primarily the money. That just can't be disputed. But, for me personally, it's not about the vaccines so much because I vaccinated my kids. I get my flu shot every year. But you don't need to tell me, you're not my kid's daddy. You don't even know my kid. I have an autistic son. Did vaccines cause it? I don't really know. But do we really know what causes autism? No. But if there's that chance, and according to the FDA website, there is that chance, then you can't mandate this on these little babies and kids. And
well, yeah, I mean, we give more vaccinations in the United States than any other developed country by far. 35 courses by the time they're 2. I mean, what in the world are we giving infants the hepatitis B vaccination when that is a sexually transmitted disease or a blood-to-blood transmitted disease that is not going to or even remotely likely to affect a newborn?
Yeah, it's crazy. And not only that, but what some people don't know is that if you read SB 277, the way that it passed out of the Senate, it says clearly in the bill that not just the schedule list that they have when they pass it, and any federal government recommended vaccine. Now, right after that bill, or right around the same time of the bill, which was May 14th, I got an email alert saying that the CDC, their next recommendation is the HPV. So HPV is not on the list, but it is on the list. So it's not just what they have now. It's that once they get that mandate, it's just going to be never ending.
Oh, yeah. Well, and not only that, but as you said, this is not about vaccinations. This is about choice. And the people who claim to be pro-choice are only pro-choice when it comes to killing your baby. That's it.
Yeah,
they're pro-abortion.
It's really
we should relabel them pro-abortion, not pro-choice, because they want to force the pro-life pregnancy centers to promote abortion, to refer for abortion. But
didn't that just pass? Didn't that actually pass today?
That just passed. And that is another bill that will eventually be on its way to the governor's desk, where the pro-choice state of California will deny you the right to be pro-choice. because to truly be pro-choice means you inform yourself and then you make a decision, whether it comes to abortion or having your child, which is the choice that you get in a pregnancy alternative center sponsored largely by, well, exclusively by private individuals who happen to be pro-life, or whether you get to have a choice about whether or not your child is going to be injected with toxins and poisons that's what we do. That's what vaccinations are. It's the old theory, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Well, unfortunately, it kills some kids. It makes some kids, they're injured, vaccine injured to the extent where they can no longer function or eventually die or have a much lower quality of life. And the bottom line is that's the risk, and it affects a small number of people, but you ought to have a choice. You ought to be able to make informed decisions.
If autism is indeed a result of vaccines, I can tell you this, that number, that 1 in 68, that is incredible. And let me tell you something, as a parent of an autistic child, my kid will probably be a burden on the system and on the taxpayers for the rest of his life.
Well, Lauren, I want to stop you right there, because I don't want the audience of this show to think that I am suggesting a link between autism and vaccinations, because I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor. What I am saying is that injuries result and unintended consequences result, and they happen to a relatively small number of people, but you ought to have a choice, especially if your first child is injured or has some major result. You shouldn't be forced by the government to vaccinate your second child. But what you're doing is you're working on recalling some of the people who are denying you that choice.
Yeah, and let me tell you how this all started. It's really kind of interesting because you know that I've been a conservative my whole life, and you know the layout of the land as far as the assembly and who's in the Senate. Well, what happened was right after SB 277 passed the Senate, I got a call from a major donor of Andy Vidak's campaign. Andy Vidak is supposed to be a Republican. Now, I was really surprised about this because I happen to know this person who contacted me, and so I know that he's really a supporter, and plus his name is, in the list of people who gave Andy money, and he told me what was going on, and he, we talked about this, and the thing is, I own a company. It's called Recall Campaigns. I mean, I do political campaigns and I do recalls. And your audience probably doesn't know this, but I just moved back here from Wisconsin. We went through all those recalls over there. I mean, it was just one after another after another. And to be truly successful, you've just got to throw it all out there at the same time. It's what it's resulting in for them. It's going to be each man for himself in the Senate, because they're not going to be able to help each other out because they're all trying to save their own skin, so to speak. And
what does it take to do a recall? What's
it's
the?
It's going to depend on the district, but basically what happens is this: to get one rolling, you have to get between 40 and 60 signatures. It's called an intent to recall, and so you have the document, and you get 200 words or less of why you want to recall this person, and then you need to have it served on the legislator. And they have 7 days to respond. Meanwhile, you then have to file with the state. And then once the response happens, or somewhere between, there's not an exact date, but you also have to publish it in the newspaper for 1 day. And it's very expensive because it's a huge, if you can imagine, like 60 signatures plus all the other stuff. So that right there is not cheap.
So you have to buy a full-page ad, basically.
Well, they shrink it down a lot, but it still has to be, readable. But it's pretty long. It's about 100 lines long, more or less. And so, for example, Fresno B charges $5.35 a line. And so you're talking about a minimum of $500 where I'm at. But so once that happens, and once the state, I guess, certifies that, okay, we've got something here, then you've got to prepare an actual recall petition, just the template for it. The state has to approve that. Once that happens, then you have to get X amount of signatures. Okay, so for example, in Andy Vidak's district, we need about 21,000 good signatures, which means you really got to get 25 to 30,000.
That's not very many, though.
No,
I mean,
no.
considering that I just read yesterday that he voted to give $1 billion of your dollars to illegal aliens so they can have better health care than you.
They did that. They did that here in Fresno County. Our county supervisors, who are primarily conservative, they just did that here with our county money, and it's crazy. But
wow.
no, Andy Vidak, his voting record, I mean, he's been making people mad for the past, year and a half that he's been in office. And I think, his thing is probably that, wow, I've got so much money sitting in my campaign account, I'm pretty much untouchable.
Well,
so,
we hold on one second, Lauren. I want to hold you over for a break. We're talking with Lauren Stevens. She is part of the Recall SB 277 campaign, and we're going to find out what it takes and what chance any of these recalls have coming up right after the break.
One less burned out star in the sky, leaving California tonight.
I'm Barack Obama, and I'm the #1 fan of the Tim Donnelly Show.
If you are just tuning in, don't despair. Even though you have missed a lot, you can always catch up by going to timdonnellyshow.com. Click on the Listen 24/7 live link, and guess what? You will immediately be treated to the previous show. It streams over and over again in a loop, starting right after the show ends. That way you have 7 chances to get it right. But you only have one chance, really, in an election. And we're talking with Lauren Stevens. Lauren, what is your website?
The website for the recalls, it's called www.sb277recalls.com. And recalls is plural. You go on that website, you can, I put up databases of all the information. You can sort through it. Today, what I started working on was, I didn't know where these assembly people really stood on this, so I thought, okay, I'm going to put up a database. I'm going to call all of these assembly people, and I'm going to ask them, where do you stand on this? Now, as you know, because you were in the assembly, you know that when somebody like me calls, I'm going to get, not you, but, one of your staff. And so over and over again, the staff are like, well, I don't know where so-and-so stands. I'm like, you work for this person and you don't know? I mean, how does that make any sense? And so they all kind of had the same little phrase, and I thought, okay, I feel like I'm getting scammed here, because if you work for this person, you probably at least should know where they stand. But if you do know where they stand and you're lying to me, then you probably shouldn't be working there at all, because, these are lawmakers who are being paid by us, voted in by us. They should be able to easily tell us where they stand or have some kind of an official position on it. Even if they don't know exactly where they stand, they know which way that they're leaning. There's not one person in that assembly who is truly halfway on the fence. It's
sure.
impossible.
But let me get you back on to the actual recalls themselves, because I'm curious. I mean, look, recalls are really hard to do unless there's a tremendous amount of motivation and movement among the people. And so you're obviously going to pick targets where you feel that you can marshal enough forces to be successful. There's no point in having a recall if it has no chance. So Nate, tell me who you think the top 3 targets are that you could take out based on what you know and based obviously on your political acumen. Tell me who you think is vulnerable.
I know that Andy Vidak is probably the most vulnerable, mainly because the signature requirement is so low and because the district is a very rural conservative district. And he's got so much bad on his track record that I don't know anybody who's standing with him at this.
So let me play devil's advocate for a minute. Let me just be Jim Brulte, GOP chairman, for a moment. I know it's a stretch. I'm going to have to gain some weight and lose some principles. But
you've got to tell your audience who Jim Brulte is, because a lot of people probably don't know.
He is the chairman of what's left of the California GOP. All right, so they spent, it was one of the only elections they actually spent any money to elect someone. They spent $5 million against Jeff Stone, who is now a state senator, to elect a liberal in his place. And, you know, he's turned out to be liberal enough. I don't know why they spent all that money. But they spent something like $2 million to secure the election of Andy Vidak. They take credit for the entire thing, even though you and I know that it was the massive Central Valley Tea Party and all of the individuals. But he's going to say, well, you guys are just going to elect a Democrat.
Yeah, well, what is Andy? I mean, come on. What kind of people has the voting record that he does? It's you know, he was a sole author of SJR 2, which I believe was in January of this year, where you can look that up to get the exact wording on it. But roughly what it was, you know, the Senate Joint Resolution where they are asking the federal government to please come into the state of California and make all of the illegal aliens citizens, not just legalizing them, okay? I'm talking about full-on citizenship, and which is really bizarre because we don't know who a lot of these people are, you know, and for me personally, I don't call for deportation or any of that craziness, but I just thought, wow, is that part of the GOP platform now? Because I don't think that it really is.
Well, to get the money from guys like Charles Munger Jr., you have to sell your soul, and obviously he made deals that the people who elected him weren't privy to. So okay, so in addition to Andy Vidak, who else is on your target list?
That would be Dr. Richard Pan, who is a senator, I believe, in the 2nd or the 6th district. I'm sorry, I don't have
right,
but
yeah, you're going to have to get a lot of Democrats to help you on that one.
Well, I've got to tell you, more Democrats are on board with us than Republicans because Republicans are so cautious. They want, you know how they are.
No.
You know, oh yeah, we want everybody, but the majority.
Hey, Lauren, can we hold you over for one more break?
Sure.
Okay. We'll continue this conversation when we get back. Stay tuned. We are talking with Lauren Stevens, who has organized recalls. She has a website that is sb277recalls.com. We have a link up at timdonnellyshow.com. Lauren, your database, I guess that's the right word for it, is actually quite impressive. You list you list the state Senate recalls, and of course on that list we just talked about Richard Pan, who is the obvious target as the author of SB 277 and the author of AB 2109. That and these are issues that for some reason, the Republican establishment does not understand issues at the grassroots level. But these are issues that bring together the right and the left. They bring together Republicans, Democrats. I mean, when AB 2109 was going on, we had a rally on the steps of the Capitol. And I spoke, Rob Schneider spoke, a couple of other people spoke. We had full-bore communists standing next to hardcore Tea Party conservatives, and they were holding hands and singing Kumbaya because they were united against a government that was trying to take away a fundamental freedom.
And I'm so glad you brought that up because I have that on my little notes thing here. The thing that has been so amazing for me personally, keeping in mind that I lived in Wisconsin, went through all the recalls there. Over there in Wisconsin, if you're a Republican, you are seriously forbidden to speak with any Democrats. I mean, it's really bad over there.
Really?
And I hated that. I have a lot of liberal friends, believe it or not.
By the way, I love Wisconsin. I am a huge fan of the Green Bay Packers. I have a number of friends in Wisconsin. So, you know, look, what they did is something that shook the political world. But do you think that could be repeated here on this issue?
What I think as far as this is that the majority of people I've been working with on this happen to be Democrats. And I am welcoming this, and I'll tell you why. Because, like I said, it's been a very long time since I've really had the opportunity to work with Democrats. These people are just like us. I mean, they love their kids. They want what's best for their kids. And Democrats, again, historically are supposed to be pro-choice. And so they're really, really backing this, and which is a good thing for us because in Senator Pan's district, for example, I looked at his last election numbers. His last election was pretty darn close. Now, he did run, the top two. He ran against another Democrat. So the thing that works to our benefit in his district is that, it seems to be a fairly safe Democrat seat. And it seems to be a Democrat district, so you can expect that.
So you're probably going to elect another Democrat who is pro-choice as opposed to pro-coercion.
It could be, but here's what makes his recall even more likely, because all the Democrats in that district who have a big problem with SB 277. They will feel like, okay, we need to get rid of him, and we don't have to worry that we're going to get stuck with a Republican, so yeah, let's do this. You see what I mean? Now, in Vidak's district, as you mentioned before, Republicans might be saying, oh, no, we're going to get stuck with a Democrat, so we better not do this. So it seems more likely in Pan's district, when you look at his election numbers, they weren't that great. It was pretty close. The numbers were pretty low altogether, and it does seem to be a safe Democrat district. So they will be voting to switch one Democrat for another.
Sure. Hey, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to Lauren Stevens, who is talking about. She's organized the SB 277 recalls. I'm on her website right now, sb277recalls.com. You click over on the part that says right up at the top. It's actually a very good website where it says Senate recalls. And you have the district, the name, the party, how they voted on SB 277, how many signatures are required. In Pan's district, it's 36,000. Whether or not, what the status is. In Mike McGuire's district, recall being organized. Lois Wolk, no status. Kathleen Galgiani being considered. Richard Pan served by certified mail on 5/28/2015. So you're serious about this?
Oh, yeah, we're moving forward. And I've got to tell you, what's starting to happen now is I'm starting to get, I guess, the blowback from the Senate. They're starting to follow me on Twitter. I've been hearing a lot of things that they're really peeved about this. And the reason why is because, you know what? I'm not some little, person with no resources and no connections, just trying to recall one little person. I'm a person who's been doing this for a very long time. I just came back from a state where we went through many of these, and the way that I've set this up...
You need to restate that. You came from a state where you successfully defended people who stood with the people against recall.
No. Well, wait, hold on. Because what happened over there were recalls on both sides. So we were recalling Democrats. We were well, not us, but, in the statewide level.
Okay.
It's very convoluted over there because it doesn't work the way that it does here.
That's okay. We don't need to get down in the weeds in Wisconsin, because I'm fascinated by your list, and you think that Anthony Cannella and Andy Vidak, who really do depend on a lot of what are considered to be moderate Democrats, they need those votes for their election. But could you swing enough votes to recall them? I think if I were in their war room and they're sitting on massive amounts of money and they know that they will have all kinds of establishment hacks and shills like Charles Munger Jr., who owns the California Republican Party, by the way. He bought it for $3 million. They will all come to his defense. So you're really going to need Democrats if you want to take them out.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, because a couple of people were a little, taken aback by, they can raise all this money. I'm like, I welcome that. You know why? Because first of all, the minute they start raising all that money, we're going to start posting who's behind this candidate. I mean, who's behind this senator? Who's behind that one? And that money is eventually going to dry up. Now, that money is not unlimited on their side. They're going to have so many campaigns that they're going to have to throw money at. It's going to make their heads spin. Who do
you think is the weakest on the assembly side?
I don't know yet. I have not really had time to study that. I honestly don't know.
Okay, so you're much more focused on the Senate.
At this time, yes. But I will say this. Let me say this about the assembly. Since these districts are much smaller and their voting numbers, their election numbers are much smaller, I could actually see it likely that it would be easier for us to take out some assembly people if it works out that way, depending on the numbers. I mean, this is all, as you know, a numbers game, and that's just how it works. But let me just explain as far as my organization. We're registered with the Secretary of State. We're a real, legitimate political organization. The FPPC ID is on my website. I don't know what it is right offhand.
No, that's okay. We've got a link up at timdonnellyshow.com for anybody who wants to check this out. And I would suggest you do take a look at it. It's an excellent website.
Yeah. Oh, and if you can tell one of your people really quick while we're on the air, go to my personal Facebook page. You'll see a picture we just posted. It's a huge 3x8 banner. I'm sitting here in my car at the parking lot in Visalia. We just picked up a bunch of these huge statewide Senate recall banners. We're in Vidak's district right now, and we are just on.
You guys are fixated on Andy Vidak.
Well, I live in Fresno, so he's close to me, So I mean, it's easier for me to come down here.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, it says statewide Senate recall. Keep your hands off my kids. It's a red banner, and then it says. Yeah, how long?
It's 3 feet by 8 feet. It's
3
huge.
feet by 8 feet, and it says, then it has your website. Well, Lauren, thank you for coming on and explaining your efforts and what you're trying to do. I hope you will come back and keep us up to date as time goes on. But we do have a link up at timdonnellyshow.com. We've been talking with Lauren Stevens, who is leading the SB 277 recalls. They're primarily focused.
And I'm working with a lot of really wonderful people, and I just want to make sure everybody knows that. I'm not sure if I should say their name on the air if they'll like that or not, but there's so many people involved, and they've been just so patient, and I haven't been.
Well, leadership is always a tough game, and yes, I know many of the wonderful people who are helping you. There are great people in this state. There's hope in this state. Lauren, thank you for coming on the Tim Donnelly Show.
Thanks for having us. I appreciate it, Tim.
Oh, you got it. Hey, we will keep you up to date on everything SB 277, including the recalls, including the rally. Do not forget, there's a link up there to the rally on July 9th, 323-746-TALK. I'm going to take your questions or your answers when we get back. Hey, if you find yourself in my hometown of Twin Peaks, don't leave without stopping by the grill at the Antlers Inn. It's right in the heart of Twin Peaks. They serve dinner every night. They're right there at Highway 189 and Bear Springs Road. They have the best steaks, the best sushi. No matter what you have, make sure you call ahead for a reservation. 909-336-2600. 909-336-2600. And tell them Tim Donnelly sent you.
I'm here to tell you, honey, that I'm bad to the bone. Bad to the bone.
Bad to the bone. That, I think, aptly describes the question that I have laid out to our audience. Because I have sat here on the breaks and I have documented all of the headlines that are not the right answer that we have covered in the last 30 days or so. But this is something we talked about. And it is an incredibly obvious answer. It will be afterwards. But meanwhile, back in California, I am going to take your calls if you want to venture a guess. 323-746-TALK, 323-746-8255. If you want to be the owner of a $10 gift certificate for an incredible cheeseburger at the greatest cheeseburger place of all time, which is, I should say a fast food anyway, In-N-Out Burger. I'm sure there are other places where I don't want to have a million calls of people saying, no, the greatest cheeseburger is Slater, or 50-50 Slater down in San Diego. I'm sure you've been there.
Many a times.
Oh my gosh, that place is insane. But while we're sitting here waiting for you to work up the courage to guess the most egregious headline in the state of California in the last 30 days in order to win, I do need to go back because two things. One, I mentioned Charles Munger Jr., that he bought the Republican Party. And a lot of you are like, what is this guy talking about? And you probably have no idea who this guy is unless you are sort of an insider baseball political person. Charles Munger Jr. is the son of a billionaire named Charles Munger. And Charles Munger, the father, is the business partner of Warren Buffett, who, of course, you've all heard of. And the son, the father, the business partner, is a very intelligent man. The son is not. And he has spent millions upon millions upon millions of dollars fighting against conservatives and getting involved in Republican versus Republican battles. And he refuses to spend money against Democrats. Looks like we have somebody willing to venture a guess. Welcome to the Tim Donnelly Show. What is your guess?
Oh, boy, I had to shut off because I came inside TA to get a lotto ticket. I'm going to the Golden State Water meeting here in Barstow right now.
Yeah. Okay.
So I can't give you a guess.
No, you got to guess. We want to hear. What do you think the most egregious headline?
The what? Now, come again, Tim.
The most egregious headline out of the state of California.
The egregious headline, the drought.
It's a good guess, but it's not quite the right one. So we're not going to be able to give you a cheeseburger today. But keep listening.
That's all right.
All right.
I appreciate it, Tim,
Hey.
and I like your show. Keep
Thank
it
you,
up, brother.
Thank you for
Take
your
care.
call.
You're welcome.
You know, that's a man who's working. He's out there working. He's doing his job, and he took a moment to call in. I like that. Look, so as I was telling you about the this individual, he has spent millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to eradicate the more conservative people's candidates, the ones who are not politically connected, who are not bought off and owned by various special interests. And you could tell, look, it's real simple. And mind you, I'm not going to ever say Republican or Democrat to you because this happens on both sides of the aisle. But now you're starting to see it come home to roost. You just heard Lauren Stevens talking about recalling people for this one horrific bill trying to deprive you of the ability to make a choice. It's supported by a large number of Democrats, a large number of very conservative Republicans, and a whole bunch of people in the middle who are offended when the government wants to make the choice for your child. It's parents who have that right, not the government. It just gets me. I'm looking at my list of the headlines that are not it, and the list is insane. Did you see the list I made in here?
Yeah, I was wondering if you're writing a new book or what was going on.
No, I still gotta finish the first one. But no, this is just the list of headlines that are not the right answer. Let's see if we have the right answer here. What is your guess? Welcome to the Tim Donnelly Show.
My guess would be about the drivers driving the legislatures home because they're too drunk to drive.
Well, that is a good guess. It is not correct, and it has been put forth before, but that is one of the most egregious headlines on my list. I will admit that, but it is not the one I'm looking for. Thank you for your call. Where are you calling from?
Victorville.
Awesome. Thank you. What is your guess? You're on the Tim Donnelly Show.
Yes, would it be regionalism, where the guys could come on your property?
That's another great guess, and that's a great threat that is coming out from a number of sources, including the government and including foreign governments that have pushed this through the UN back in 1976.
Terrible.
Which is called Agenda 21. But that is not the most egregious headline out of Sacramento in the last 30 days. That's what we're looking for so that somebody can win a free lunch. Where are you calling from, by the way? Well, I guess it's okay.
He's mad, no cheeseburger.
Well, I don't blame the man. Look, men are simple creatures. You should know this. If you want a man to do your bidding, you have to feed them and you have to take care of them they have very simple needs. It's
we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Father's Day is coming up. So I was going to mention, like get them a gun or a barbecue or
shaped like a gun.
Or a tool like a chainsaw or something like that. Not a tie. Okay. Get them something they can use. Men like tools. All right, we're going to take another call just before we go to break here. Welcome to the Tim Donnelly Show. What is your guess?
Jerry Brown has $7 billion of our money stashed.
That's a good one. He's got $7 billion of our money stashed, but he's not going to give it back to us. He's going
to Oregon too.
He's gonna spread it out to Oregon. He's gonna give $1 billion to illegals. He's not gonna build the damn dams. He's gonna keep borrowing money to do that, and they're never gonna be finished. But that is still not the most egregious headline out of Sacramento, even though I like how you tied things together. Good guess.
Right,
where are you calling from, by the way?
Great show. Thanks. All right.
You got it. Well, the show continues, and the contest continues, and it looks like I got time for maybe one more call. You got to be quick. What is your guess?
Hello?
What's your guess? You got to be quick.
How about the Shasta, shutting down Shasta to save the salmon?
Good try, but negative. We will be right back with more of the Tim Donnelly Show. 323-746-TALK. Your calls continue. If you've been listening long to the Tim Donnelly Show, you know that we talk constantly about defending freedom and about defending our natural, inalienable rights. The firearms Policy Coalition is a partner of the Tim Donnelly Show. But more than that, they're on the front lines every day in Sacramento and all across the state, in the courts, defending your Second Amendment right. That is a natural right that the government merely acknowledged in the Second Amendment. If you value your freedom, then you need to join Firearms Policy Coalition. Become a member. I'm a member, and I'm happy to support an organization that is doing such an incredible job. Go to joinfpc.org. The Tim Donnelly Show sent you. Or go to timdonnellyshow.com and click on the FPC link to make it easy. But whatever you do, join today. fpc.org. I am continuing to add to my list of things, of headlines that it is not. We are continuing to discuss what has gone on in the state of California. And by the way, if you were on hold and you got dropped off, just call back 323-746-TALK. This is the Tim Donnelly Show, and we have made it halfway through the week, and we are more than halfway through the show, and time is just flying. And by the way, my co-host, well, actually my producer, suggested that one of our callers was mad, and that's why he hung up. And in fact, he called back and said he's not mad. And you know what? We will make sure to make that correction. Sometimes we hit the wrong button, and people disappear, and it's just par for the course. But you should be mad at what's going on in the state of California. I mean, it's insane, all the headlines we do have, and many of you have mentioned them in the course of, what are we on, day 3?
Of guessing the...
We're on day 3 of this contest.
It is.
Where we cannot get the right answer. And I refuse. We are not liberals. We are not going to give everyone a trophy. You have to think it outside the box. And you have to scroll back through some of our archives. This is going to force you to go to our YouTube channel. And all of this stuff is up at timdonnellyshow.com. So you should be able to search it. But we are going to continue until we get an answer. If you want to win the In-N-Out Burger certificate for $10 for a free lunch, it's 323-746-TALK, 323-746-8255. And if you see any calls on the screen, let me know, because I don't know that I can see them. My system is not working as well as it could, probably because it is in California. But I was starting to talk about the statewide recalls, which, of course, we talked extensively with Lauren Stevens. I'm going to be fascinated to see how that goes. It takes a lot to win an election. These are not things that just happen. And you've got to have the right recipe. You've got to have the right alchemy. You've got to have not only outrage over an issue, but you really have to have an organizing force that brings people together and drives them. And there's a lot of anger and outrage over SB 277, but so far I have not seen as much of people working together. There are a couple of groups that are starting to kind of be at war with each other, and they need to come together. It's critical. It's crucial if they want to be victorious. I have it right here on my desk next to the picture of former President Ronald Reagan, who said there's no limit to what a man can do or where he can go if he doesn't mind who gets the credit. And the only way you're going to win that fight, and look, with 5 or 10 recalls going on at once, I'd say the chances are decent that you might win one of them, maybe 10%. I don't know. It's going to depend on how palpable the anger is in these districts. There is some more news out of Ferguson. I know we're going backwards a little bit, but there were two members. Remember we did that clip from the Black Panther who said he wanted to kill people to defend his babies? Yeah, well, those guys weren't joking. They weren't kidding. That wasn't rhetoric. Two members of the new Black Panther Party who met in Ferguson during protests over Michael Brown's death admitted in court Tuesday they planned to blow up a police station and kill the prosecutor involved in the case. So much for peaceful protesting here, at least with these two individuals. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch reports 23-year-old Olajuwon Ali Davis and 24-year-old Brandon Orlando Baldwin each pleaded guilty to multiple explosive and gun-related charges in federal court today. I mean, that's extraordinary. They had conspired to target and kill Robert McCulloch, the prosecutor who handled the Michael Brown grand jury, and Ferguson Police Chief Thomas Jackson. I think the new Black Panther Party has lost whatever credibility that they had, because the minute you resort to plotting murder, and they were dumb enough to buy what they thought was $250. They purchased 3 pipe bombs. Like, look, if you're going to go blow something up, you actually need to build the pipe bombs yourself. You don't buy them. There is no place. You don't go down to the Ace Hardware and say, hey, how do you make a pipe bomb? I'd like to buy one. Oh, by the way, there's a guy across the street. He makes them in his back. Who do you think you're meeting? The only people that are going to be meeting with you are informants who then tell the cops, who then get you arrested. And thank God that they were too dumb to succeed, because there have been, as Geraldo Rivera said, the country is awash in blood. It's funny that he stated that he was deeply offended by the comments of Vince Vaughn that guns are meant to be used to defend us against an abusive government. But then he talks about a civil war in our cities. I'm going to take a quick call here and see if we have a correct answer. What is your guess?
Is it the fact that we had National Guard troops in the streets of Ontario?
That's a negative. If you're referring to are you referring to Jade Helm 15?
No, we had National Guard troops marching down the streets in Ontario about 60 days ago.
Yeah, that is not on. That is not the answer I'm looking for, even though that is something that would have originated in Sacramento. But good try.
Okay, Tim, thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
We are still, the saga continues, the unanswered question. And part of me is really tempted to just give the answer out.
No.
Whoa. The Noskinator, very firm here. What is your rationale?
For not giving out the answer?
Yeah.
Well, for one, I think that our loyal listeners need to go back and listen to a couple of our shows.
Okay.
And two, no, but I really think it's because this isn't something that has been pushed out in the media outside of our show. That's why people aren't getting the answer.
Right. Well, it isn't easy. It's going to reward the person who has been a very loyal listener. Let's see if this is the right answer. You are live on the Tim Donnelly Show. What is your guess?
Hi, Tim. I think, is it about where if someone moves into your house and stays for 6 months and you have firearms, that they can...
You're talking about the gun confiscation law.
Yeah.
which was, I believe, AB 1114 last year. But that was passed last year. So that immediately would not be something passed within the last 30 days. But I'm glad that you are aware of that. Did you learn about that law on your own or by listening to the show?
Oh, I learned a lot from, listening to your show. I love your show.
Well, that's what we like to hear. And I want you to stay tuned, because when you hear the right answer, then you'll have a clue to how I'm thinking, and maybe you'll win the next contest. Because one thing, and thank you for listening, by the way.
You're welcome. Thank you.
One thing, look, I like doing this because I believe, unlike the elitists, that wisdom rests with the people. The founders of this country trusted the American people. That means you. You don't have to have a PhD. You don't have to have a master's degree. I don't. You don't have to, unless PhD stands for post-hole digger, which is what I do on the weekends. Yes, you might have seen me out there fixing a fence with my son. You don't have to have gone to college. You don't even have to have finished high school. All you have to do is pay attention to what's going on. Not just to me. I don't have all the answers. We just bring up stuff, but a lot of times listeners bring up things. You email them in, you Facebook us, Facebook message us, tell us on Twitter things that are going on. We research them and we talk about them. Sometimes we have more questions than answers, and that's where I find myself with this whole Jade Helm 15. But your final chance today to be the hero of this contest, to win the $10 gift certificate to In-N-Out Burger, where you can get a delicious, delightful double animal style with onions, no onions, grilled onions, fries, and a Coke. And if you supplement it yourself, maybe a milkshake. Will be right after this break. 323-746-TALK if you can name the most egregious headline out of Sacramento in the last 30 days that we talked about on this show. Hey, you've heard me talk over and over again about Burro Canyon Shooting Park, which is arguably the greatest place on the face of the earth to exercise your Second Amendment. But it just got better, because if you mention the Tim Donnelly Show, they'll give you free stuff. You get a free hat, free coffee cup, while supplies last if you mention Tim Donnelly Show. So get out there and get shooting. For directions or more information, call Burro Canyon at 626-910-1344. We're going to go straight back to the phone lines, which are jammed up with, hopefully, the right answer. Al from Running Springs, what's your guess?
My guess is you cannot own a weapon if you've ever talked to a psychiatrist.
Good guess, but not the one we're looking for. Thanks for your call. All right, Zandra from Hesperia, what is your take on the question?
Well, I thought maybe they've had cases where people have had people enter into somebody's home, illegally, and then the person that lives in the home shoots them, and they get hurt or get killed, and then that innocent person gets prosecuted.
Well, that's a terrible thing when that happens, but that is not what we're looking for at this time. Thank you for your call.
Okay.
Denise from Victorville, what is the most egregious headline out of California, out of Sacramento?
I think it is land water rights.
No.
Okay.
Good try.
All right. Thank you.
What is your guess?
Tim, I've been trying to get a hold of your producer to figure a way to get some advertising on your program.
Oh, well, we definitely want to help you out. Do you have a guess, or do you want me to put you on hold so she can pick you up?
Put me on hold, please.
All right, I will do that. Thank you. What is your guess of the most egregious headline coming out of Sacramento?
Hi, it's Bill calling from Phelan. And after raising our gas taxes yet again and making us about the second highest gas taxes and some of the most expensive gas in the country, the attempt to legislate to put devices on our car to charge us by the mile for traveling, which would limit our ability to travel. It might as well put us in a concentration camp.
Bill, that is a very educated, very intelligent guess. Unfortunately, it is wrong.
All right, thanks.
You got it. It looks like I got one caller left. You are my only hope.
Who, me?
Yeah, tell me. What do you got?
Okay, well, I just recently heard on the wire last week that California passed a law regarding homeowners insurance and being able to provide a proper safe to store your guns.
Well, that's another egregious affront and assault on our fundamental liberties, but it is not the correct answer, unfortunately.
Okay,
Thank you for your call. I don't know what to say. We had almost 60 phone calls into the show today. Hopefully you could pick up that number that ends in 99. I'm just giving you the ending. Yeah. And we're just going to have to hope that someone in the next... you know what? If we can't get an answer by Friday, don't you think it's reasonable to you know, I think we should
give out the answer?
Yeah. What do you think?
We'll need to come up with something other than giving out the answer.
Well, I've given tons of clues. 323-746-TALK if you want to make a last-minute attempt. What do we have? About 2.5 minutes left, maybe 3. We've had a lot of great guesses, but it is... I have a long list of the headlines that it's not. So you need to be looking outside the box for the most egregious, most... the one. Look for the one bullet, the one that summarizes all the rest of them or affects all the rest of them or underscores all the rest of them. That's where you need to look for the answer. And believe me, I've got a long line. I mean, and look, you guys have guessed forced vaccinations, forced unionization, $1 billion in free health care for illegals, anti-Second Amendment laws, banning CCWs on campus, forcing pro-life clinics to promote abortion. And that's only to number 5. So we have many more beyond that are still, once again, not the right answer. And I'm not going to despair. I know that somebody out there knows it. You know it. You just don't know that you know it. 323-746-TALK, and we will continue this contest tomorrow, which gives you a chance to go on timdonnellyshow.com. And what's cool there, do a couple things. First of all, link up with us on Facebook and Twitter and check out our live stream. You can hear the show all over again. You can hear all the wrong answers, by the way, so you can educate yourself on what it is not. And then maybe we will have a hero. It looks like we have a late caller here. You are going to be the last caller today. What is your guess?
The controversy about the bullet train.
Negative, but thank you. Great guess. Keep listening. Hey, the Tim Donnelly Show, I do not do this alone. I have lots of help. I am grateful to my wife for letting me do this, to my producer, Bethany Nosko, the Noskinator, who screens your calls and puts up with everything, including crazy technology at times. We also have Cassie Cassidy, our intrepid guest booker, John and Sean, and of course you, because without you we don't have a show. God bless you and Godspeed. We will see you tomorrow at 3. If you've been listening long to the Tim Donnelly Show, you know that we talk constantly about defending freedom and about defending our natural inalienable rights. The Firearms Policy Coalition is a partner of the Tim Donnelly Show. But more than that, they're on the front lines every day in Sacramento and all across the state, in the courts, defending your Second Amendment right, that is a natural right that the government merely acknowledged in the Second Amendment. If you value your freedom, then you need to join Firearms Policy Coalition. Become a member. I'm a member, and I'm happy to support an organization that is doing such an incredible job. Go to joinfpc.org. The Tim Donnelly Show sent you. Or go to timdonnellyshow.com and click on the FPC link to make it easy. But whatever you do, join today. FPC.org.